So you decided to sell your home, and now you're facing the fact that you need to allocate a certain amount of money for the additional, I'd say, third-party expenses that you will incur when you're selling your home in Ontario. What are those expenses and how much approximately they would be? Let's talk about this in our today's video, and make sure to stay until the end because the very last tip I'm gonna give you is very important, especially if you're an investor or the non-resident. My name is Marina.selby and I'm your local real estate agent. I work mostly in Toronto and the North GTA. And thank you so much for clicking on my video. Please don't forget to like it and share it with someone who may benefit from watching it as well. And consider subscribing to my channel if you find my videos valuable. It really helps my channel grow, so I really appreciate that. Before we begin, don't forget to check out my other video about the expenses you should expect to have when you are on the other side of this transaction, when you are a buyer. I'm going to leave the link in the description and right here as well. Okay, so the very first expense you should budget for, unless your real estate agent offers to cover that for you, is the home stager. I've spoken numerous times in my other videos how staging your home is one of the most important parts of this whole sale process because it truly does help make your home aesthetically attractive to the potential buyers. It shows your home from the best way possible. So if your goal is to sell your home very quickly and for the most amount of money possible, you should definitely hire a good stager who will highlight its key features and convey a positive visual impression to everyone who visits your home. There are other videos about the importance of the home staging, as well as the video with a few tips on how to do it yourself, some home staging ideas that I was sharing. So I'm going to leave them also in the description below for you to check them out if this is something that interests you. The cost for staging varies based on the stager, first of all, and the amount of furniture, as well as how much work overall will be needed. So as an example, for a small condo that requires just a few touches here and there, making it pretty and no significant changes in terms of the furniture, you should expect to pay anywhere around $1,500. And if we're talking about the vacant homes that you want to fully stage, it can go all the way up to $6,000 to $8,000 and plus $1,000 based on my experience. Another expense you should keep in mind is everything to do with your mortgage and the lender. What I mean by this is upon the sale of your home, your mortgage will be discharged and you may, depending on what kind of conditions you have with your current lender, have to pay a penalty for breaking your current mortgage, which can be anywhere between a few hundreds to a few thousands of dollars. Speak with your lender ahead of time and review your contract with them so you will fully understand how much penalty will be and definitely budget for that. Now, there will be situations where you as a seller would maybe want to take your existing mortgage to the new property that you would buy. So that would also come with an additional costs that you should discuss with your mortgage lender. Also, make sure that your contract allows that. So there's plenty of questions to ask your lender. Make sure to do it way ahead of time before you even sell your property. You may be required to provide an up-to-date survey on the property to verify the size, the boundaries of the property. And if you don't have an up-to-date survey available, you may be required to hire a surveyor who will create the new report for you, which will cost you around $2,500 to $3,500 depending on the size of the property and other things to keep in mind. Hiring the lawyer is an absolute must when it comes to closing the real estate transaction because the lawyer will ensure that the agreement of purchase and sale is valid. First of all, they will answer all your questions and address the concerns from the buyer's lawyer. They will prepare the statement of adjustments for closing the transaction, where they will ensure that all the prepaid transactions are returned to the seller, as well as settle any of the outstanding property tax and utility payments before the closing. And finally, they will also make sure that they will transfer the title of the property to the new owner. So a lot of things things they will handle, and again, the fees will vary based on the complexity of the work required as well as the lawyer himself. So the cost can be anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500, again, based on so many different things that I mentioned. Another large expense you will have if you use the real estate agent to help you sell your home is the commission that is payable to both brokerages, the listing brokerage and the cooperating brokerage that represents the buyer. In most cases, though, the listing brokerage would have the right to apply the deposit that was paid by the buyer towards the commission payment, which makes it a lot easier and I'd say maybe cleaner in the transaction, and you don't have to worry about the additional payments and feel like this money is coming outside of your pocket. So once the lawyer confirms that the transaction is closed, the listing brokerage will disperse the deposit from the trust account that they keep this money in and apply it towards the commission of both brokerages involved in this transaction. In terms of how much the commission is, again, it all depends where you purchase the property. I personally work in Toronto and the North GTA, and the average cost per transaction is about 5%, which is equally usually split between the listing and the cooperating brokerage. So 5% of the price of the home. Of course, you will need to think about the moving expenses. The cost will also vary greatly depending on the location and the moving company you choose. You may also do it yourself and rent your own truck and do all the moving yourself, or decide to hire the professional movers, which will cost you anywhere around $500 to $1,000, again, depending on how far you're moving from your current home and the amount of work that will be required. Also, keep in mind any additional charges that the utility companies may require you to pay for either transferring the account or closing the existing accounts. So not so much they charge, but it all depends on the utility company and what needs to be done. And last but not least, I wanted to mention additional expense that you will incur if you are an investor and you are selling an investment property. The capital gains tax is applicable to any capital gain that comes from the sale of the seller's rental or the investment property or non-principal residence. So capital gain tax is not really payable right away on closing, but it will be due on your next income tax return. So definitely keep that in mind. And as always, I encourage you to speak with your tax professional about any tax implications ahead of time. And if the seller is a non-resident of Canada, they would have to pay the capital gains tax on or before closing and provide evidence to the buyer's lawyer, which is called clearance certificate. Share in comments below what additional expenses you have incurred when you sold your property, and feel free to ask questions and comments below. If you want to get in touch with me, my contact information is always in the description below each video I make. Thank you so much for watching. Share this video, like it, subscribe if you like the content that I make, and I'll see you in my next video.